All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited to announce a brand new guest. Actually, the first guest that's going to be on the show as of 2022, Mr. Jeremy Penn. Jeremy, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing amazing. How about yourself?
Things are good over here in Canada, freezing. You're obviously in Brooklyn, so it's not as cold over
It's
there for you.
cold.
It
It's
is
cold.
cold, yeah.
Yeah.
Love the background. Love how the studio is looking. How long have you been in that space?
2010.
Oh
So
wow,
I've been in, yeah, it's
you've been there
been,
for a while.
yeah. And then my other spaces were on the other side of Brooklyn. So I got my first studio in 2004, 2005.
Man, you're an OG in the game. That's why another reason I'm excited to kind of touch base with you on everything that's happening because obviously this whole NFT world is brand new to so many of us.
Yeah.
Um, but before we do that, can we go into an introduction on Jeremy Penn and like, kind of who you are and how you got started?
Sure. Hold on. My phone is.
No worries.
So, um, I've been a artist, I guess, from as early on as I can remember. Was definitely one of those troubled youth kids who never painted in the lines. And it was kind of like this just rebellious spirit of just like, fuck you, don't tell me, what to draw. I'm just gonna draw what I want. And I think that's the purest form of art, coming straight from feeling. So I think there was like only a few routes for me to go without listening to authority too much. So art just became a passion of mine. It was my way of expressing myself and just been doing it my entire life. Went to school for it for years and had my first solo show in Manhattan at around in 2007, I think, 2008. And since then, things have just, progressed. I do a lot of work on the street. I have work in museums, galleries, you name it. I've done a lot of cool stuff in my career.
Yeah, you seem super seasoned, which is amazing. Um, do you know the first like one of the first pieces you ever created? Do you still have that? Do you know
Yeah,
what it is? Okay.
I have it in my studio, and it's one that I'll never sell, no
That's
matter what.
amazing. Is it similar
Well,
to what's behind you of the woman and stuff, or is it something just completely
no,
different?
no, no. So, um, what happened was I went to school for so many years for art, and I got so jaded with this um, with overeducation. Like I just felt it was overload, and I knew that I needed to get back to a pure place. So I stopped painting entirely,
Oh,
and I was doing random weird stuff. I love to experiment. I'm like very much an alchemist. I light my paintings on fire. I do all these different things. Um, and one day I like had this idea. I wanted to make candles, just for my friends.
okay.
Like I just thought it'd be interesting to play with wax. Um, and I did have one painting that I was working on like years prior, and I had a little bit of a wax incident in my kitchen where I was making them, and wax poured all over this painting. And I'm like, once the wax cooled, I'm like, wow, that looks fucking dope. So I
Wow.
then started exploring like how do I use wax as a painting medium. So I got back into painting using this process called encaustic painting. It's a encaustic is like a it's painting with hot wax, and
Okay.
it's really primitive, and like it's one of those things that the vibrancy of colors stay put forever. Like
Right.
the sarcophagi were painted in with like the coffins were painted with encaustic wax. Um,
Oh, wow. Okay.
so that's how I got back into painting. And one of the paintings I have, my first painting I really created that I want to say is like a professional artist out of school. The one that I'll never sell was one that I almost burnt my entire apartment building down creating. And it to me, it symbolizes like taking the risks. I have for every good painting you see, there may be 10 that, are completely destroyed. But there's something freeing to me about building these beautiful layers up and then torching the entire thing and seeing how it organically evolves without like, having so much control, building up control, and then like losing it all.
Yeah, having no idea
And
what happened. Yeah, that's amazing.
exactly. So this painting is something special to me.
That's cool, man. I love that you kept it and you still have it. I'm
Yeah.
excited to hopefully like one day come down to the studio and be able to see that in person. I think that's
Yo, man, you need to come here. It's
I
crazy.
think that's something super unique. So end of January, I will be hitting you up. Before we move too far into everything else, like your seasoned, you've been around for a long time in this space. Can you just touch on some of the shows, or maybe some? It could be a magazine, a publication, kind of anything you've been in that you're super proud of, that we can share with the community.
I've always kind of lived by this idea that you know, giving back, right? For me personally, charity fills my cup of my soul. Um, I've
Yeah.
done a lot of stuff with charity, and one of the charities I'm on the board of is called um, Blankets of Hope, and they teach kids uh, practicing empathy by making handwritten notes that get paired with blankets, and those blankets are distributed to the homeless population.
Oh wow.
And to me, I'm really proud of the charitable work and especially that organization because it's like that little glimmer of hope that people who are just forgotten about. Does a handwritten note could change everything? It's kind of like this idea of decentralization where some kid in like a remote country can actually own something and that could spark an entrepreneur because they have that feeling of
Yep.
hope. Um, so I'm really proud of the charity work I've done. Um, I've done crazy shit. I've traveled. I have work that was acquired by past presidents. We won't name who,
Oh wow.
and then
Amazing.
were um, somehow back in my possession in a strange, weird way. I'll tell you that story in person.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, some crazy, crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah, I
I mean,
feel like
I'm gonna hang up and I'll think about all these crazy things that happened. But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, for me, giving back is a huge thing. I've been very fortunate to turn my passion into a paycheck. So yeah.
no, I love that side. I love that you're doing that, and like I said, giving back. It's something that's very underappreciated and underserved. So, thank you for doing that on behalf of our entire community. And yeah, I think once I get out there, we'll have to share some of these stories in person, off camera, and see
Oh boy.
and see the life you've lived, because I'm sure there's some cool things that have happened. Um, so transitioning into like what's happening now, right? NFTs, Web3, crypto, whole bunch of craziness. 2021 was wild. Um, all kind of stuff happened. How did you get into this space, into the NFT world?
So it was around 2014. I started buying Bitcoin,
Oh wow, okay.
and I was selling them and making maybe like $200. I'm like, this is a good side hustle. We're talking about Bitcoin was like $500 at the time.
Crazy.
Um, and right across from my studio, my good friends were photographers and they were photographing this guy who actually had a altcoin mining business. He was mining a coin called Decred, and he wanted to sit down and talk to me about like the idea of tokenizing my art,
Oh,
and he was so passionate about it. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And like, I always think about that moment, and he had it all figured out. Like he obviously was figured out, but he was really pushing me to like adopt this thing. So, and it just seems so far out there. I think it got back on my radar mm, November last year, and that's when I started paying close attention to what was happening.
Right.
And it was, I'm one of those people who sits back and observes before I go in or try to make something. And I know so many people in my community, the street art community, fine art community, who try to jump into this space and they are no longer in the space. Some of them are,
Yeah.
most of them are not. Why? Because they thought they get instant street cred by having credentials in
Yeah.
the analog world. And it's just not how this world works. So I really took my time to immerse myself in the community and understand what it was all about, before I started creating work and putting it out there. So yeah, I've been collecting a lot
Yeah.
and just contributing where I can and helping others on board.
Yeah, so I love that you've been in the space. I love that you started getting Bitcoin years and years ago when no one knew what the hell was gonna happen. So that says a lot in itself, that you were able to take that risk and dive in. With all the NFT projects that have come out this year, you even just said just now you've collected some. Are there some that you just love, certain artists or certain projects that you're super bullish on or that you're in right now?
Yeah, I have a strong passion for a project called the Sewer Rat Social Club. Um,
Okay. Yep.
I absolutely love them. They are so innovative. They had their own token before most of these projects. They had a store that you could use these tokens to buy other NFTs with. And it's just got that kind of underground New York City
Yeah.
gritty feel. Um, and then there's another project I love called the DBs. They're actually not even sold out yet. Close to it, but the art is just, it's got that kind of underground, kind of gritty, dangerous feel. Um, but yeah, I mean, I own a mutant ape. I almost bought like a
Very
bunch of apes back in the day.
good.
Back in the day. Um, and yeah, I have doodles. I have a crypto New Yorker, which is dope. That's in real live minting, in which was crazy.
I've never heard of that one.
Um,
That sounds wicked.
yeah, so they had them in Venice, California, called the Crypto Venetians, and they came to New York, and it's you mint in real life, and it's like your quinceañera. It's like your wedding. Like there's a ton of people there. You're behind a curtain, and then I'm there. I'm getting. This is a crazy story. Um, I'm doing it, and it's my turn to mint. You make a reservation. I go, and who's there? Who walks in right before me is Bobby Hundreds from the Hundreds, Steve
Oh, wow.
Aoki,
Ooh,
um,
that's
Dead
dope.
Mouse. Like they're all minting right before me. I'm like, this is something. This is really cool. And then they're going to Berlin next. So it's gonna be the crypto Berliners. So I dig that project.
Some
Yeah,
of these
I mean,
projects that are bridging, like, that real world utility and just those
yeah,
experiences, those are
yeah,
so dope to me.
yeah. And I'm so deep down the POC rabbit hole, but we don't need to go there. It's a whole
Yeah,
nother thing. But I love POC.
I love it. Okay, no, that's really cool. I love that you have a bunch of these, doodles, mutant apes, all that kinda good stuff. It's cool to see that you're, like, invested in the space, not just, an artist who's here to, have some fun and get in, get out type thing. Because
Hmm.
obviously this is here for the long haul.
Oh yeah,
Everything's
there's no question about it.
that's what's exciting. Okay, let's touch on Hot Lips. I'm actually super interested in Hot Lips. And I think the first thing is just like, the inspiration behind it. Obviously one of the females is right there behind you, like I guess the woman.
Yeah, there's actually
Can we
another
just
one
touch
right
on that
there.
first, like
Sure.
where this all came from?
Okay, so great question. So the story is I was young. Um, I was raised, I had a traditional upbringing. Um, even though my parents thought I was either going to be a serial killer or, you know, or someone who's going to do something really interesting in the world, because like I said, I came out with two fingers up in the air. Um, but it was a traditional upbringing in the sense that like my mom was a stay-at-home mom, my dad
Yep.
worked a lot. And I wasn't raised around like a group of strong females. I had an older brother, I had a strong father. Um, my mother took a little bit of a back seat with things, and she was amazing, and I love her, but definitely very passive. So my view of women growing up um, was kind of it wasn't well rounded, and I always researched and studied women in history. It was always like a passion of mine. Um, and then I started watching French films, which
Okay.
was another weird thing that started happening. And around 16 years old, I saw a movie with Bardot. And at that time, um, it was the first time I saw a woman take complete control over um, this using seductive powers to control man. So it was this like complete shift. I mean, not to get so esoteric and deep into all of it, but there's this theory called the male gaze, where all movies are told through the male lens. And here it was this woman who came out really passive, but that ended up like owning her um, sexual prowess, and all the men that used to feel like they could dominate her, they just like fell to their knees, right? So there was this like power and seduction and this kind of shift in power itself. Um, and I just found that really interesting, this idea of like how someone could go from strong to weak, just the polarity of it all so
Okay.
fast. So I wanted to create this kind of like big brother, like iconic stamp like figure that's just like overpowering and just pure seduction. So it's her face, it's a silhouette of her face, and it kind of embodies like everything that was that moment for me, right? Like that you
Right.
look at it, she's kind of like looking down at you, and it's almost like you feel submissive when you see it. Like there's such
Yeah.
a strong dominant energy. So
Now that
ever
you're
since then I've
explaining
been
it,
painting, yeah, I've been painting like powerful female figures and doing work that explores evolution and how we came to be where we evolved into a misogynist society, and how it's kind of shifting, and how you know men kind of went wrong in some ways.
yeah,
Not
absolutely.
all
No,
men, but a lot.
I like hearing your inspiration because it's deep, thought provoking, and actually, like I said, when you explained it, I'm looking at. Let me show you what I'm looking at. And it makes sense. Kind of like how you're saying it and how she's looking at you. Um, the first question I have is this woman, this female right here, is this an actual person from the movie? Is
Yeah,
this someone you just
that's
created? Okay,
Bardot.
so
So
that was
that's
the
Bridget
inspiration.
Bardot.
Yep,
Yeah.
amazing. So, and then on all these, obviously, it's called Hot Lips.
Hmm.
First of all, why hot lips? Is that just because of the color of the lips you're adding to it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a playful thing when
Okay.
I originally came out with it, because I had this red stripe across the lips. And I mean, I don't remember the first time I painted this, but it's been kind of an iconic image for my career. And I mean, they're in a lot of places in Manhattan. A lot of places bought them, so certain restaurants and
Yeah.
hotels you could see them. But the red stripe was something that became was the first thing I did, and some people love it, some people don't want it with the red stripe, some people want the red stripe across the eyes when I'm asked to do
Interesting.
commissions. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different variations of it, and what I thought, and this may answer one of your next questions, is why how does this translate into the NFT space, or like how am I taking this into an NFT? Um, the reason why I wanted to do this, besides the fact that it was an iconic image for my career, is I see so many of these PFP projects, and they're great, but so many of them focus on the foreground,
Yep.
and my art. Um, is so deep in layers. Like I paint layers and layers and layers. I scrape them back. There's so much to it. I'm like, let me explore what it's like if the background was the variable and the
There you go.
foreground was the constant. And so these are really kind of hand painted, most of them. Um, really stunning backgrounds with that image. And there are variations of the foreground as well. Um, but I didn't want this to be just like one of those PFP projects where you're cranking out multiple ones. I wanted each one to be really special and unique.
Yeah, and obviously that's what's gonna make it special. So the stripe, or I guess the smear across the lips,
Mhm.
is that something that just came to you one day and you just did it? Is there an accident behind it, or was that
It,
meaningful?
yeah, I mean, it wasn't, there was no meaning behind it. You know, people have, they see it and they're just like, oh, it's a statement on silence and all that. And
Right.
really, it was just one of those things. I had this weird thing at like between 4 and 6 p.m. It's kind of like my witching hour. You know, babies have this witching hour where they're fucking crazy, or like a Jack Russell Terrier runs
Yeah.
around in circles. Between 4 and 6, like I had studio assistants in the past, and I was always say, don't let me work between 4 and 6. It's like the hours that I start fucking everything up. Um, but it was between 4 and 6. I remember having this painting. It was perfect, and then it just took one of the red, like some red transparent paint, and just smeared it across. And that was like one of those happy accidents that happened.
Right.
And there was no meaning behind it. I'm just like, this needs like a pop of color, and here we are.
Damn. I love it. It's actually super cool. Um, we're gonna save. I know we have a lot of the assets. We've seen some of the background stuff. We're actually gonna save that just for the community watching for a future video as we get closer to the release date of Hot Lips.
Mhm.
Um, but me personally, I have seen some of the files and the backgrounds, and they are very detailed. I love that you are kind of flipping the script on it. I think that's something that's gonna make this project, really unique.
I missed that because my internet's slow.
Oh, no worries. I was just saying, like, I think, how you're flipping the script, with the
Yeah,
background being the focus. I think that's something that's gonna make this super unique.
yeah,
And I also love that it's female empowered, and having
totally.
that is the forefront of this artwork. I'm excited to see this come out essentially, long story short, and see how the community takes it and where it goes. Um, I know we're planning different things with utility, potentially physical prints. I know we're still working out all the details, so we won't get too far into that right now. But to everyone watching, we have worked out a lot of cool, I think, features and things to announce. And
Yeah.
early January, I think we'll hop back on with Jeremy and create some more content and shed some more light. But I would like to give you the floor, Jeremy. If there's anything you do want to say about this Hot Lips project, or anything coming out in the future, that you'd like to touch on before we end off.
Oh, I wanna reveal so much right now, but I'm not going
I know
to.
it's hard.
Um, but yeah, I mean, these pieces, the thing that you kind of alluded to, the thing that could potentially be involved with this, with the NFT, when it arrived, um, I was like, this when you see your art, kind of showcased in the right way,
Right.
or it's printed in the right way, um, and you're just like blown away by it. When I saw this, um, I was super excited. So, um,
There you go.
more about that later. I wish I can share it, but I can't. But these are fucking insane. Part of my language. They're insane.
I love it. I think that's the perfect tease right there. You guys need to stay tuned for early January as we kind of release more details. If you haven't had a chance and you don't know where to follow Jeremy, we're obviously going to link it in the videos, but his Twitter and his Instagram are popping up right now on screen. Um, Jeremy, this was dope, man. It's cool to be able to connect with you, and obviously, like, I'm excited for after the holidays to reconnect. I'm excited to come out there, hopefully, and meet you in person and see the studio. And yeah, man, I guess for right now, enjoy the holidays. Hopefully, you'll get some time off to rest and regenerate for the next year. And I'm looking forward to it.
Same here, man. Yeah, you definitely got to come by when you're in town.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna have to come there and do a live stream or film something in the studio. I think that'd be a really cool piece to kick things off.
For sure.
All right, buddy. Well, take it easy. Enjoy your holidays, and to
You
everyone
too.
watching, like, stay tuned. We'll be back with Jeremy for a lot more.
All right. Take care.